Now he says, and now you know, and now you know I worked all day. And I called her at some point, I guess, when she was in Walgreens. I said, well, what are you doing? She said something about taking them up to the lake. So, okay, he's giving you details of his day. This is extra information.
Yeah, that's Candace. He's calling Candace.
That's Candace.
Right.
And why is he adding this in here? Well, here it comes.
I don't personally agree that that is extra information. It could be, but extra information, extra information is generally more in the context of, what did you do that day? Oh, I went to the park with Bobby. Bobby is my best friend. The thing about Bobby is he loves fishing, and you should see him. He's got a brand new fishing rod, and that is extra information, all right? You're talking about Bobby for literally no reason, and it's something that people do when they're in an interrogation situation and they are not wanting to talk about the stressful situation. They give themselves an emotional break by talking about something that they're comfortable talking about. It lets them calm down. It lets them feel in control and safe and good. So this situation, the extra information thing, when it's not a confrontational interview, is far less relevant because people sometimes ramble. Have you ever been like telling a story to a friend? Because my mum will do this all the time. She'll be telling a story to you and she'll be like, oh, I called Marjorie the other day. You know, she's the one with the 2 cats and the second cat's called Lucky. And I'm like, shut up about her cats, Mum. Just get on with the story. If you're doing that casually, it doesn't have the same meaning. It doesn't have the same inference that you're lying. And also in this case, I don't see him going off on a tangent. He's talking about stuff that is related. He's not talking about Bobby and his fishing rods or Marjorie and her cats or whatever I said. So I don't agree. I think you are taking something and trying to smash it to fit a pattern of deceit, which it actually doesn't fit.
She says something about taking them up to, well, then I thought, hell, I might as well just work late. Because, there's a reason why, there's no point in me going home. And he gives another reason why. Well, he doubles up on this. They're out doing their thing, that's why. And when they do that, they give you a reason for doing something that you didn't ask him about. That he's now told me that this is the...
So we discussed that already. The thing about when you give the reason and it's not asked. And I agree, that can be really dodgy. And this, I'm not sure. It's definitely something, if you're interrogating someone and they said, I worked late, and they gave the reason without asking, sure. Don't just go, oh, cool, move on. Definitely ask more and be suspicious, sure, because there could be something here. But is this definitely that someone's lying? I have seen cases where someone says, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I've literally seen people where the thing that they say, they give a reason why, and it really was so pointless. They'll say, you know, I don't want to waste my time thinking up an example that's good, but I have seen ones where you go, dude, no one asked why. But the reason why you worked late, I don't think that is something that's really odd to give an explanation for why you worked late. So yeah, it's something to be interested about, but something to jump on and go, aha, no, it's not that, not at all.
Sensitive area to him. Now I'm on high alert as to why he wants to create this alibi that he was at work.
Okay, so he's instantly saying that it's an alibi that he was at work. Well, is he creating the alibi that he was at work, or is he just at work? Because I think that's all going to be quite verifiable. And then he said, just before that, he said, I'm going to take it back. He said something about being sensitive about it. Because honestly, if he said what I think he said, if he's being sensitive about it, well, if you were going to be home that evening and you didn't come home, you stayed at work late, and as a result your child got abducted, how would you feel? Would you be sensitive about that? Would you feel that maybe the need to explain why you worked late? Because I would. I would, and it breaks my heart that people would say that that means that you're lying and that you hurt your child. Because I would.
Tom told me that this is a sensitive area to him. Now I'm on high alert as to why he wants to create this alibi that he was at work. And I want to know now, was he at work all day? Did he leave work early? Did he work late?
That's fair.
I want to know.
Yeah.
This needs to be verified
of course.
for me.
Yes.
Because there's something sensitive about that, about working late. He just pointed it out. So
yes,
that
I
might come
agree.
up later on that he might answer the question for me.
I agree. He's sensitive about why he worked late. That's fair. But I think the explanation I've offered that if you worked late the evening that your child disappeared, you'd be sitting there going, why did I work late? Why did I work late? And when someone asks you why you worked late, it's going to be natural to say why you worked late. So it's natural to be sensitive about that. Yes, we shouldn't just take his word for it. Duh, obviously, verify, of course.
But I know that there's sensitivity. He's creating this. He wants to make sure that you knew that he was at work all that day. And so we'll pick that up a little bit more coming up.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
And remember, we talked about, he would probably
could just be telling you what happened
day to day, especially after the last video we just did.
Yeah.
Well, he has, he's found some outlets, and he's adapting correctly. But I'm paying attention, and we'll just keep.
I'm not sure what Chris means by that.
And what other is interesting thing here? So I had a theory, and it's just a theory, right? It's a working theory. That what if something happened, right, at the property or whatever, hypothetically, and what if they were both there, and then, they got to hatch this. We got to get the cops moving. So he goes to his job site. She's at the house, hypothetically, makes the 911 call. He makes a 911 call and then comes back, and that's why he took the red car. Because typically, right, to your point, if you're doing drywall and you've always, have the white truck.
So I think Chris is saying, imagine that Don didn't work late. And he did actually take his truck to work that day. But then when he came home, something's happened with Summer, and in order to give himself an alibi, he's taken the other car, not his truck, back to work to make it look like he was at work longer than he was. That doesn't really... Okay, we sure, stick it on the whiteboard. That's a possibility. That doesn't really make sense for me. Why take the red car instead of the truck? One, someone might see you in the red car, and then you're going to have to explain why you were in the truck earlier and now you're in the red car. So that would be a dumb idea. So it's not really fitting. Although people do dumb things. So it's possible. But the other thing is that Don said that his boss saw him in the red car. So the boss is going to be able to verify what time he saw him in the red car. So, yeah. I think, I just feel like we would know. And there'd probably be an arrest by now if what Chris is saying, if the police know that what Chris is saying checks out with the evidence that they have and the witness statements that they have.
And his boss even comes over and teases him.
Okay, he's bringing up the
having
boss.
The red car. Okay, so that's that just doesn't. That's DLR, right? As we call it, doesn't look right, and it doesn't sound right. DSR. Okay? So now it could be true.
I'm sorry, but the fact that Chris throws in that doesn't look right and doesn't sound right have their own little acronyms. To try and make that sound more, cool, I think that's a little bit funny. It's a little bit of a grab for prestige.
I don't know yet, personally.
What is that? What is that ringing?
Your radar is up, pretty
You gonna do
high.
something about that, bud?
So, anyway, let's keep moving. And by the way, for the folks that have been asking, I feel great. I had my second shot. I'm looking good. So, get vaccinated. All right, here we go. You
Props
ready?
to Chris for getting
Let's
vaccinated.
go.
All right, bud. You said Summer was by your side. What does that mean?
She was asleep by my side when I woke up.
Okay, got it. And what time was that approximately?
So this is they want to take the fact that you can look at things from a multitude of different aspects, right? So they want to say, he's saying that when he first said that, you know, Summer's by my side, and then just kind of moves on from that, there's missing information there, which is true. At any time that there is missing information, you should do what Chris just did and go back and ask, what did you mean by that? And figure out what the missing information is. But Don has also been accused of throwing in unnecessary stuff. And so here's an example where he clearly did not throw in the unnecessary stuff, which makes this seem quite truthful. He didn't throw in, Summer was by my side, she was sleeping there, blah, 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 and create a story. It was just a throwaway comment, she was by my side, and he was happy to move on from that without a detailed explanation of where and how she was by his side. And yet when Chris goes back to ask why, what he meant by that, his explanation is unembellished, calm, rational, and makes perfect sense. So it therefore rings very, very true. And there would likely be no reason to lie about this, whether Don was guilty or not, because this is in the morning, and we know that Summer was fine. She's been seen by multiple people out that day. So I'm not sure why they even want to fixate on this. But yeah.
7, okay, earlier, 6:30 or 7, somewhere in there.
Okay, and
Yeah, she had to be by me. She just had to be by me.
that's her personality.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, she loves me to death. I could say just one harsh word to her and she would break down. I have to apologize for it to her 10 times over.
Hold up, Chris.
So he wants to hold up. And I'm like, no, Steve, you hold up. I think that Steve is probably going to say, oh, he's derailing the conversation right now to talk about how much he was loved by Summer and how good of a dad he was and blah, blah, blah. That is one way you could interpret it. Another way you could interpret it is when he just said that the dad's not showing any emotion about the child. Well, to me, this is an example of where he is. He's being derailed by just thinking about Summer. And if you have heard the interviews with Don, it's a big deal to Don that he was loved by Summer. And you can try and crucify him for this if you want to. But it's just a fact that Don has said that he never felt loved by anyone all that much. And now he's been married twice or something like that. So he must have felt loved a little bit by these women, assumedly, right? But he says that he was not given that unconditional parental love, that he never felt that he had that. And that when he got that, I guess he never felt either that he really got it from the boys, but that he felt that he got that from Summer. And if you listen to the whole story, it does sound like when Summer was born, the primary attachment, because infants, newborns, they will, for the first 2-ish years of their life, they will pick one human being as their anchor, as their primary attachment. And if that primary attachment is broken, it causes all kinds of problems, or not formed well, it causes all kinds of psychological problems for the child growing up. But that primary attachment, it's very crucial, and it's to one primary person. It is usually the mother. But it sounds like, for whatever reason, and I've seen this where it'll be a grandfather that gets the primary attachment because the grandfather just spends so much time with the baby. They spend more time with it than the mother, and it doesn't mean that the baby's not going to have a healthy relationship with the mum when it grows up, because most babies grow up and they have a healthy relationship with their dad, even though their initial primary attachment was only to their mum, right? And it sounds like that primary attachment was to Don, which means that he is going to experience that amazing unconditional love that any mother knows that your little ones have for you, that they see you as a god, basically. They see you as this perfect, flawless person that they just love, who makes them so happy. And it's important to Don, not just that he loved Summer, but it's particularly important to him that she loved him in that way that he had never experienced before. That's his story. That's his narrative of his relationship with Summer. So if you believe that, then these comments about how much Summer loved him, they're consistent with that story. That story appears to make sense. If you want to, say that you don't like that story, or that there's something bad in that story, that's up to you to go ahead and speculate on. But that is a consistent story with Don, and therefore, if you accept it as true, is it weird that he keeps referring to how much Summer loved him? No, because that was the most pivotal and important thing to him about Summer. The way that she gave him a kind of love that he had never felt from his own parents.
All right.
So go ahead,
All right.
taint this.
I know,
Go ahead,
where
Steve.
you're headed.
Yeah, we all
it's
know where you're
gotta,
headed.
It is what it is.
So this is disturbing.
Oh,
so
I hope he's not going the P word direction.
this
That's
ties
really creepy.
into that missing information that I said is related to Summer being in bed by his side.
Oh, dude. I gave you
before
more
he left
credit.
for work.
I gave this Steve
Okay.
gave more credit. This is gross.
He's left out information.
This is...
Now, he says, she was asleep by my side when I woke up. He put timing in there. And it infers that she was by his side at other times, prior to him waking up. And I'm going to leave that alone for just a second. She had to be by me. She just had to be by me. This is a indication that of a control, a controlled bonding. This is what we see in groomers.
Oh my God.
And it worries me. And I'll show you why I'm going here.
This is...
Because there's more.
This is not okay.
Then he says, yeah, she loves me to death. So
If he doesn't have something else to back that up,
I'm the good parent.
that kind of accusation is sick.
I'm the one that she loves. And
This better come out as
might be
being
having
true.
A problem with that later on,
Because
and
that
I
is a
think it's
sick
later on.
accusation.
It's either later on or something that we did last time. He mentioned that she had a hard time bonding with Candace.
Yep.
That for the
that's
first, I don't remember how long it was.
So like I just said, that's not abnormal if the primary attachment was to the dad. She's going to have a harder time bonding to the mum. It's going to take longer. Okay? It sounds, from what I've heard, that she did have a healthy attachment to a primary caregiver, which means that she's perfectly fine and healthy. It does mean it's going to take a longer time to bond with the mother because she wasn't the primary attachment. And anyone who's had a baby will know that the first couple of years, that baby wants mama. The baby likes daddy, usually. It likes daddy and it'll play with daddy, but it wants mummy. If it gets hurt, it wants mummy. If it gets scared, it wants mummy because mummy's the primary attachment. So in this family, if it is as I suspect, and the father is the primary attachment, then anytime the little one's hurt, it wants daddy. Anytime it's scared, it wants daddy. The person it wants to sleep with is daddy. The person whose lap it wants is daddy. And that attachment to Candace is going to take longer. Also, it can be a two-way street. If this happened where the father is the primary attachment, it is very plausible that Candace may have had bonding issues or postnatal depression or some other reason that was making it harder for her to bond with her daughter. For me, I always really wanted a daughter. My firstborn was a son. My secondborn was a girl. I wanted my firstborn to be a girl. He wasn't. He was a boy. And then my secondborn was a girl. And I was so happy when I found out that it was a girl. I was like, I hadn't sort of allowed myself to hope too much that it would be a girl, and I only allowed myself to acknowledge how much I wanted it to be a girl after I found out that she was a girl. And yet, when she was born, I had a much harder time bonding with her than with my oldest. Now, I didn't have postnatal depression, and I was the primary attachment to the baby, but I went to a lot of effort to do that. I wore the baby in a sling, I co-slept with her, I breastfed her. I kept her with me all the time. And I made sure that I gazed into her eyes and smiled, even when I didn't really feel like it. Because I thought, I'm not as bonded to this baby as I wish I was. But this baby is not going to know that. I'm going to give this baby everything that I would give her if I was already madly in love the way I was with my firstborn. With this one, I'm going to fake it till I make it. And I remember even at 4 months old thinking, I'm more attached, I'm more bonded, I'm feeling it more. But it was still, I knew it was still growing, it was still happening. I didn't have that instant connection. So that can happen, and that can happen to a more extreme level than I had. And like I said, I fought through it. Now, if Don really wanted a girl, and Don maybe had that instant connection himself, and Candace was more like me, or perhaps even further along than me in not really attaching to the baby straight away, I didn't have anyone else there to do all the stuff for the baby. I had some help, yeah, but I was really adamant about doing it, right? So if Don was there going like, oh, Candace, you're struggling with the baby, you know, babies are a lot of work. If he's offering and he's helping and he's doing it all, right, you can see how that can happen. The baby attaches to the dad.
She wouldn't bond with Candace, but she bonded with him. Okay?
Yeah, it's possible.
That's typical. That fits the profile of a groomer. And
I don't know anything about that to be true.
You know, with a spouse or significant other, they often use them as well, and they'll shame them. They use the shaming technique and everything, and it gets a little deep, but this fits the profile.
I don't know about that. What I have heard about cases like that is very limited. It's limited to kind of cases that ended up with homicide, because I mean, I'm not in law enforcement going around with you know, sex offender cases. I just look at homicides and stuff. So I know very little about that. And at this point, I'm not sure if I want to take this guy's word for it or not. I think that that's really odd to say that an abusive parent, unless you're saying that they're molesting them from the time that they're a baby, and that's why I guess they're spending so much time with them, it's a bit weird to me. I'm not sure. I'll take his word for it, I guess.
I can say just one harsh word to her and she would break. He put a number on the word, on the harsh word. It indicates to me that there have been more than one harsh word said to Summer.
Yeah, because he's a human and she's a little kid. I've said harsh words to my kids. I've lost my temper at my kids. I said things to my kids that I regret. I've said, you know, I've lost my temper and yelled at them. And it's bad. I wish I was perfect and I never did that. But yeah, I've done that, and I apologize afterwards. And my daughter is like that too, where if I raise my voice in a certain tone to her, she'll go off and cry. And it happens when I'm frustrated or angry or whatever. She's not listening. She's done something for the third time, and instead of, you know, being the calm, patient parent who's like, okay, well, we're going to give you a little time out in the naughty step, but we're not going to get angry about it. You know, when it's late at night and I'm tired and she won't go to bed, that's kind of when it tends to happen. And she's tired too. She'll burst into tears from, I'm going to say she can withstand more than one harsh word from me, but not much more, before she would burst into tears, and I would apologize. So, yeah, are we flawless? There are people out there who are really, really patient and really good, and they don't ever yell at their kids, and props to those people. That's who we should all aspire to be like. We should all try to be as patient as possible, but, you know, we mess up, and it doesn't make us child molesters or murderers.
This is also fits the profile, and then he said this in association with summer breaking down. And so it tells me that there were a lot of harsh words in this relationship.
No, it doesn't.
I still have that he's insinuating this closeness to her.
Oh, the dad's insinuating closeness to the little child?
And she
insinuation
would
of fear,
down.
No, there's not.
That's physical.
breakdown is physical. Like
And
she
then he
cries?
says, I have to apologize to her 10 times over. That's more of the grooming. And it's...
then Steve, apparently I groom my daughter.
A groomer would be typically apologizing, baby, I'm sorry, I have to do this. If you hadn't
That's not what he said.
climbed in bed with me, or said this, or done
That's
that,
not what
or
he said.
whatever,
What the
I wouldn't have to do this.
What
And
the
they apologized
fish
10
wang? That's
times
not what
over.
I'm going to vomit.
Yeah,
That's not what Don
Wasn't there
said.
something
Don
pretty
said that if he
interesting?
said something
Yes.
harsh to Summer,
No.
she would
Perfect.
break down
So his
crying,
sister was,
and he would have to
on,
apologize for that.
another YouTube channel.
Oh my
Unmasked
God,
last night.
I'm so
And
uncomfortable.
This is his biological sister. And by the way,
This is like me doing this
his
little
stepsister
self-grooming right
at
now.
length,
This is some body language of
almost
someone who's
3.5 hours
uncomfortable.
One day.
This
And
is
I'm
making
not
me
gonna play
sick.
that out of respect for that victim.
You better have some evidence
but what was interesting,
forthcoming
right to
that this
cue,
is true, because
is
spreading
Don
this shit
called
about
her
someone whose daughter is
last
moving
night
is missing.
apologizing and trying to get her to basically shut it down.
This is why I can't. I
and
feel like I
so,
need to watch this
to your point,
to stay on top of the case.
I don't know if that's target acquisition or if he's just so used to
But it's really hard to listen to
kind of
this.
covering every time he hears a scenario, he immediately jumps on top of the victim. And by the way, for her,
Not really even
Jeannie,
following.
his stepsister, she told me one
I was so
night
upset.
when I think she was either 11 or 12. Well, it was in that time frame. I have to listen to her statement again, but she had a girlfriend over. They were doing a sleepover.
Okay. Regarding the stuff with Jeannie. Okay. There's two aspects. First of all, I'm going to compartmentalize whatever Don did to Jeannie. Suppose he did something to her that is a crime. I don't know about that. That is possibly accurate, and if so, and there is penalties for that crime, that should be doled out, that should be dealt with. If Jeannie wants to press charges and there was a crime there, etc. But I'm going to compartmentalize that from Summer's disappearance because I haven't seen a link yet. People have certainly tried to imply a link. Sexual abuse of Jeannie, sexual abuse of Summer, Summer's disappearance. Well, he didn't disappear Jeannie. So even if he did sexually abuse Summer, that is a bit of a hard link to make. But I will give you that it's something. However, the sexual abuse of Summer is not, I've not seen any evidence of it. And these guys trying to reach all that stuff that he just said, to me, that makes me feel really not okay. To me, that's not at all enough reason to throw suspicion on this dad as being an SAer of his daughter. So yeah, my first thing about Jeannie is that I think it should stay compartmentalized until there is reason to connect it. I don't see that it's connected. So just because, say he is a child molester, it doesn't mean that that's where Summer is. It doesn't mean that Summer could still be abducted, and I don't want whoever abducted her getting away with it because we all just focused on Don, okay? Now, the other thing with Jeannie is I dislike that her story is coming out through secondhand accounts. So we can't assess what Jeannie knows, what she remembers, how accurate it is, and exactly what happened. We're hearing it through other people. We've heard a tiny bit through Don, where it was very minimized, and we've heard it a tiny bit through Chris, and a tiny bit through, there's an interview with her sister Mary. And there are lots of problems with that, because I certainly don't think that Jeannie is likely to be lying about it, but it's always possible that people are lying or exaggerating, things like that. It's always possible, and we have no idea. We can't assess her credibility at all because we're not seeing her talk. And I'm not saying she should have to at all, but she wants to talk, it should go to the authorities, and I just think that other people shouldn't be being the mouthpiece for her, where it's going through a filter, it's going through a lens, and we aren't able to see how Jeannie says it and how much she remembers and everything like that. Because